It is 8:34 now at iFiber One. Time for us to focus on Shelton, brought to you by our Community Credit Union. We have a great guest in studio here today. It's the interim city manager, Mike McCarty. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Good morning, Jeff and
Good to
Vicki.
see you.
Nice to see you guys again.
Good to see you.
So you are the interim city manager for through the contract we were talking off the air next couple of months. It's been 3 days. So
3 days.
Can't get a real good sense of it. But what have you kind of already come to see about the culture there at the city now with the council taking charge, the 7 folks there, and just the mood in the city? What are we looking like right now?
I think the mood in the city right now is very, very positive. It's very optimistic. You know, despite some pretty significant challenges that the city has with their budget, particularly. But every person that I've talked to is very enthusiastic about this city council. It's a great group of individuals that are there for the right reason, and that's because the city of Shelton is their best interest. That's what they want.
That's amazing.
More than anything.
Good.
So one of the things that they've asked me to do is to be, as much as possible, a stabilizing element in City Hall and in the organization of the city of Shelton. And in just a brief 3 days on the job, I've come to learn that the city has an outstanding staff. This community is well served by the people that dedicate their careers to working for the residents of the city of Shelton. I'm very, very pleased with what I see in the staff so far, which is great.
I know that you're the interim city manager, and the end goal is to have someone in a permanent fixture
That's
sometime by the end of this upcoming January, if possible, if not sooner. But what are some of the things that you want to look at during your time as city manager? Leave your mark on the city with some of the unique background experience that you have too in working with cities.
Yeah, just a brief bit of my background for those that don't know me. I worked for the city as a city administrator here 18 years ago. I left in early 2000 after 16 years as city administrator here, and then I went to work for the Association of Washington Cities that worked for and on behalf of every city and town in the state. So I've worked with hundreds of mayors, hundreds of elected officials. I had a board of 24 people that I was accountable to, and I learned a lot in that role.
I bet.
Tremendous amount in terms of what works well in communities and what doesn't. And, you know, clearly a well-functioning city council is an important piece of this community and how they're going to lead this city moving forward. I can't overemphasize the importance of that. And like I said earlier, I think right now we've got a very, very good city council.
Totally, yeah. We've had several of them in here, so
Yeah,
definitely.
that's great.
I agree with
So
that.
you've seen during your time working with all the cities and towns the various ways city government works. Probably, well, you were here with the city during the commission time.
That's correct.
And the 7-person council, 5 councils, and things like that. What is it about the different forms of government? What do you see helps rise a city to the top? Kind of gets them the right foot moving forward.
Well, I think regardless of the form of government, it's really all about leadership.
Okay.
It is about leadership, and particularly leadership, not just from the council, but from the mayor itself. And as you know, in the council manager form, the council elects the mayor.
Yeah.
And I think that they made a very wise choice in Mayor Rogers. I think that there's really great things to come from the mayor and this council. You know, the other popular form is the mayor council form, where the mayor is directly elected and the mayor is the chief executive officer of the city in that case. Council manager form, it's more like a traditional private sector board and CEO relationship. So the council hires the city manager, who's responsible for the day-to-day administration of the city. And both forms have worked in the state very, very well. And I think also that the city was wise in moving to the council manager form. I think it's a very effective form of government.
So we have about 10,000 or so people in the city of Shelton, and then represented by 7 council folks there, and they all come from a variety of backgrounds. So
That's right.
how are you going to be able to kind of wrangle all those ideals, especially with budget time coming right around the corner.
Right. So much of my week actually has been spent meeting individually with each city council member. I have one left tomorrow, and part of that was for me to get an idea individually, where they're coming from, what their backgrounds are, how they see this city moving forward. So that's been very helpful, and I can't pretend to tell you that I've got it all figured out. I don't, but hopefully within the next several
You will.
weeks. Yeah.
You will.
Thank you for
You
your
got
confidence.
this.
Thank you for your confidence. I was sharing with Jeff earlier, though. They've hired me for about 30 hours a week for a job that could take 3 times that amount of hours a week. Of course, So.
How accessible is your thoughts on being a city manager to the people of Shelton, or do you kind of work through the council and the citizens come to them and come to you?
Both, both. As a city manager in a small community, of which I've lived for almost 40 years, we've lived here. You get to know a lot of people.
Yeah.
And, I'm certainly not going to, if I run into, somebody on the street that knows me or doesn't, going to say, well, you have to talk to the council first,
Sure.
But I think in terms of, sort of traditional formal protocol, issues that the council has would then be directed to me, and then I would direct them to a department director or someone that's responsible for that. But it doesn't necessarily have to work that way. I'm practical.
So 18 years since you were kind of last in this position.
That's right.
And just in the last 3 days, what have you seen? Because I know that you follow along and how things have been going over the last almost 2 decades. But what have you seen internally that is just completely different than the last time you were there?
That's a very good question. Some things are very much the same, believe it or not, and other things are very different. Having the majority of City Hall staff in one building.
Sure.
When I left here, we had just opened the Civic Center, but there were no offices in the Civic Center but for the police department and municipal court. So all of the upstairs space was vacant at that time.
Oh, wow.
So that in and of itself physically has been a big change. I'm delighted in the fact that the Civic Center is very well maintained, still highly used by the community. I think that's very impressive. That was one of the goals of building that building to begin with. And so, those things are still very much the same. Probably the area that has seen the most change is in the area of public records and in the areas of social media.
Sure.
20 years ago, there wasn't anything known as Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or any of this Twitter. And so that in and of itself has been a big change as well.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh.
Very cool. Well, I look forward to catching up throughout the next couple months here and seeing how progress continues on. Interim city manager for the city of Shelton during our focus on Shelton right now is Mike McCarty. Good to see you again.
Thank you. Good to see you, Jeff and Vicki.
Good to see you too.